Freud. Freudian Slips.
Hi, Ollie.
Hi, Danny.
How are you doing today?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Very excited. This is the last episode of the year.
The last one. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
We haven't been doing this a year, but this is like our first year at it.
Yeah. We made it through the end of a calendar year. I think that's pretty cool.
I do too. And we were consistent every week. Every week, baby, dropping an episode.
Yeah. I'm super excited. This is Freudian Slips. This is the place where we get to talk about shrinks, kinks, and things in the mental health field. And today we're going to do a wrap up.
Yeah. A fun, recap, wrap up video for people who have been with us. You can kind of hear some of Danny and I's insights, which episodes we've really liked. If you haven't listened to all of our episodes or been one of our diehard loyal fans since the beginning, I guess we forgive you. And we are going to tell you some of our must listen to episodes and some of the ones that we just really like or we think are totally worth looking back like a re-listen or just some really juicy ones for people that might have missed them.
And if I'm not mistaken, we're also going to be giving them a little hints of what to look forward to in the new year.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. I'll let you lead.
Okay. Let me see here. Now you got me nervous. I think we are. I think we know what's coming in the new year, potentially, maybe. Yeah, we know some stuff. Okay. Yeah, that works. Okay. The history of the podcast so far. So, why did we decide to start this podcast? Also, maybe you answer that, and I want to go back and actually look at when we first released an episode of when we actually started the podcast.
When we actually started the podcast, I was actually talking to my wife about this. I'm just kind of reminiscing.
Really?
Yeah. She loves to check in just to see how I'm doing, how work is, blah blah blah. And I always say that I'm just feel so blessed that I've met and I have Ollie. Because this is it could be such a lonely field. This is something that we've talked about. And so to think back, right? Think back. This is how me and Ollie met. Randomly in a class, we were put in a chat room, which doesn't happen with all the classes. So it could have very well have been the case that it was just another complete lecture, just no class time, and just immediately just move on to the next. Because I think that was maybe the only class, if maybe I can think of one more time where that happened.
Yeah, we hardly ever got broken out into groups, and you and me just randomly got put into the same group.
Yeah. And these aren't small groups. These were big classes, 50, 60 people in a workshop. And so we randomly got put in there. We didn't even talk to each other. I think
we all had to share or something. Everyone did have to share. And to be honest, I don't even remember. Maybe you'll remember how we connected after the groups. Because all I remember was in the group, I was like, oh, he's younger like me. Because there weren't that many people in our age group. We were definitely some of the younger people in the program. And I don't know what you said, but I remember just being like, I think he's funny. Or I was like, he's my vibe. Because some people, and we've talked about this, some therapists, it's just, I love them, I respect them, but I'm like, well, okay. You're I don't know if we'd be best friends, but that's okay. And for whatever reason, whatever we were talking about, I was like, oh, he's fun. I like him.
Yeah. So what happened is that that conversation that you're referencing didn't even happen inside the chat room.
No, it didn't. I remember it was afterwards.
Yeah. The thing that stuck out to me is just I knew that you were in California. I think that was one of the things that we shared, just where we're at, blah, blah, blah. And so when you said California, I was like, oh, someone else in California. And then I reached out to you afterwards, a week or so later, saying, hey, you're in California. I'm in California. Do you want to network? Do you want to talk? Then we spent that hour talking about books, talking about just interest and practice. And that's where you also gave me the Existentialism is a Humanism.
Oh, I love that book. Yep.
A great book. That is how we started. And it wouldn't have begun if we didn't randomly get put into that chat group. And even then, as someone who networks, I talk to therapists all the time. But I think what happened was that we're like, okay, great. This is fine. This is good. And I think we just kind of kept each other in mind. But it really wasn't until you came back from your break that you then reached out to me and said, hey, are you still in the program? Are you still doing this? Let's meet. And again, not anything crazy. just a regular meetup. But then at the end of the conversation, you were like, great. So can we meet next week? And we just kept doing that. Like, we're meeting next week, same time next week. That just kept on happening
That's so true.
until eventually we're just like, yeah, we just hang out on these days. And one thing led to another. Now here we are. So that's
And
how we
I
got
think
here.
from the get-go, we both knew we were really into the research side. We both knew, like, when I found out you also loved existential therapy, I was like, that's always fun because I don't think that's a lot of people's favorite. I mean, I'm
No.
sure for the people it is, there are probably a handful, but in general, I'm not meeting a ton of people that, like, consider themselves existential therapists or love existentialism. So I was like, "Oh, that's fun. We're similar in that way." And I feel like our brains just work similarly. We had similar ideas of like, "Oh, it'd be so cool to, like, be able to do this with therapy one day," or like, "Oh, like, I wish there was a way that more people could know about X, Y, and Z." And so I think both of our brains were just very like, oh yeah, like that would be such a fun project. Or like, oh yeah, I think that would be so cool.
Yeah.
So it was fun that we just clicked on
Mhm.
a lot of that stuff. And you
And
remind
then
me of some of my like dear friends that I have here and that I've had forever. And so it's funny. I was immediately like, oh, I've never met Danny in person, but I feel like I know you, one of those situations.
yeah, of all the things that we said we were gonna do, then one day it was just like, "Hey, yo, we really doing this? Let's
Yeah,
get
how did the
mics."
podcast actually start? Which, by the way, it started on 3 January, February, March. Started on March 29th this year.
March 29th.
March 29th, we dropped our first 3 episodes, which was what Freudian Slips is and the getting to know each of the co-hosts.
How it started, I think, if I remember, we had been going back and forth on just one of our typical rants of like, we should do this, we should do this. Like, let's write a book. Let's do a
Yeah.
workshop. Let's get this resource. And
Yeah.
I think it was always revolving around like, let's get information out there. Like, you have skills, I have exercises, you have this, I have that. Let's just put it all into something, give it to people. And then I think the easiest thing was like, well, we're already talking. Let's just record it and then just post that. And so then we went and got mics.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because you had a few friends or a friend that did a podcast. So I think you were like, "Oh, I'll talk to him or
Mhm,
I'll talk to some people," because I don't think it's that like, we're already basically doing it.
mhm.
And so, yeah, I think that's how this little puppy was born.
That's how it started. Yeah.
Wow. I don't remember how we came up with the name, but boy, is it a good name.
That was just one of my few strokes of genius.
That was
I
good.
remember that one. That was just a random. I was like, "Oh, we can call it that. That's funny." And it's it.
I really wanted to try and do something on a play of, I don't know if anyone out there watches Gordo y la Flaca, but I was like,
I
"Damn,
remember that
if
one.
there was a way for you and me to somehow make a reference," but I was like, "No one's gonna understand this,
Yeah,
so
I
it's
remember that one.
okay, it's
Mhm.
fine," but I really think in the psychology world, also neither of us being Gordo or Flaca, I just would have been a great reference somehow.
Yeah. Some other
Oh,
things, I guess, like why. So that's how like the podcast started. Why for me
why?
personally is one of my biggest things is I wanted to do this so that we can build a community around mental health and share good information. That's always been like at the back of my mind. Also, I think it really helps kind of stave off loneliness. This is in private practice, and yet I've had, I think, a really fun year. Just it's exciting. I get to, talk to one of my best friends every week. We're going to log on. We're going to do this. We're going to have fun. I really do think it's made a huge difference. Even though the rest of the journey has been solo, this I think has really, really helped me just in my own personal health. And just to kind of introduce the field to people. I think it's a really nice, fun way to talk about mental health.
Right? I just think it's fun to switch things up so you're not doing the same thing all the time. And as much as I love working with clients, I think it's fun when you and I come up with episodes that are like, oh, interesting. Like, I haven't looked into that in a while. Or like it's a new opportunity to learn new things or see what's out there.
Mhm.
Or I know we'll get into favorite episodes, but it's like there were ones I just had so much fun with that it's like, what is the point of life if not to have a little fun with stuff? And if you can educate some people along the way and like just see something grow by like these just little itty bitty baby steps, and we like learn these new skills. Like Danny and I are both not tech savvy at all. Like the fact that we were even like, okay, like so we download this and then we upload, which button do we click? I mean, it's like the amount of learning that this has allowed us to do on just the research end and just like the tech end has been so much fun. And then we recently brought in Farouz, one of my good friends here to help us edit and become a part of the team. And so I just think it's so fun. Like you just never know what stuff is going to evolve into. And then it's
Yeah.
just like you're working alongside your friends, just having fun with each other and sharing information to people all the
Yeah.
time.
I think I've always fantasized about wanting a group practice so that I can work with people who I love working with. And it's like, oh shit, we're doing something. We are doing something.
I think that's a good point, and I know I've mentioned this in other episodes too, but a part of me, I think, always wanted and if not a group practice, it was like, "Cool, cool, cool," like, my first step's gonna be my solo practice, like,
Mhm.
and then what? And it's like, once I think the more business end, the growing of the practice, like, all that stuff became like, "Ooh, okay, I'm gonna have to talk to a lot of lawyers about this. I'm gonna have to, like, okay, how about all the benefit laws?" And, like, it just started feeling like, I don't know if that like, I'd be really forcing that at this point. I don't know if that would be as organic and exciting as I want it to be. And I'm just always the kind of person that's like, well, but like I always want this to feel fresh and exciting and fun. And so
Right.
like how can I get that or how can that evolve? And I think this podcast is like a great kind of next step, but who knows what this could also evolve into.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, so I love it. Okay. So that's kind of a background of why we're here and why we started it in March of this year. And I do think we were actually filming and recording for most of the year. We might have actually started that in January, and it just wasn't
Mhm.
until March we started releasing episodes.
100% because I remember the whole mic thing. That was a Christmas present to each other.
Oh my god, yeah, that was so cute. You're right. And then I remember we there was learning curves. We did not realize my heaters can't be on. That messed with the audio.
Yeah.
We sometimes didn't have the mics on or they were facing the wrong way. That affects audio. There was quite a learning curve. So there were many episodes we had to redo or just
Yeah.
scratch entirely. And we were like, "All right, we're learning."
That's true. We
Yeah.
lost an episode.
We did. I remember I mean, not, like, literally on the verge of tears, but I remember when you were like, "Ollie, I know." And, like, I think it was just one, right? I was in a great mood that day or something. I had so much energy, and you're like, We're gonna have to re-record that."
I remember
And I
that
was
one.
like, "Oh my god." It was, like, an hour and a half long, and it feels weird to, like, redo something that you know you already did, but, like, no
Yeah.
one else does. So I just remember being like, "Oh my god, okay. Yeah, we'll do it." But so it was a learning curve from the get-go. You know,
Mhm.
it's not gonna start perfect. I think too our dynamic as hosts, it's kind of fun. I think we've done a great job at just leaning even more into, I think, our natural personalities or how we kind of are with each other normally. And I've really loved seeing you get more fired up over certain like topics or segments that you've really wanted to do.
Sure.
So I think that's been a lot of fun too, is even though you're, I think, a little more the like quiet, demure one of the two of us, I think it's fun seeing the ones where like you are just fired up and I'm along for the ride.
Yeah, that's you are not alone in that sentiment. Most people, they listen to the episodes and they're like, my mom says, I think I just need to listen. I just need to watch your show because you talk more to Ollie than you do to me. I learned
That's
so much more
hilarious.
about you. Just I didn't know that you talk so much. And yeah, some students have commented that, they know me as like this very, like stoic, get the work done, let's go. And then to see me on this or like it's a completely different like side of you. So
Oh, that's hilarious. See, like, that makes me so happy. This is just me. This is, I think, how I show up in every aspect of every day of my life. But I love that you get to, like, come out of your shell a little bit.
I feel that's the weird thing that I think I'm still working on. Like, I hear everything that you guys are saying, and I know that it must be true, but I honestly, like, don't feel any different. I feel very comfortable talking and hanging out with you and doing what we gotta do. I think people just see me in different settings, and sometimes the settings call for something else.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, here is a really nice time for us to really just kind of hang out and just be yeah, there's no other expectations than just authentic and do the thing.
Well, and I think these are also like scripted episodes that are about topics that we're really interested in or we're trying to teach people about. And it's just you and me here. So,
Mhm.
like, if you're not going to talk, then I'm the only one talking. You know, it's like there's like at some point, I think it makes sense that you'll probably talk more or
Yeah,
share more because there's just two people
that's
and
true.
we have like a set topic that we're discussing versus like if you're hanging out with family and you're like, yeah, like I'm here, I'm having a good time. I might not just be like the chatterbox of the group
Mhm.
because it's just a different environment.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Yeah, I feel that. I think we've grown up well in this very short amount of time. I think that we still, while how do I want to say this? I think we've come into ourself.
Yeah.
Not that there's not room to grow, and not that we're drastically different from when we started. I just
Hmm.
think that it's like we've found where each other fit,
Hmm.
and it's just flowing a lot easier.
Hmm. Ooh, okay. So then, next kind of question here. What were some of your favorite episodes from the year or episodes that to you really stood out?
Sure. Spooky season.
I fucking love. We need to do more than we did like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
We did 3 because you did a thing, I did a thing, and then we did the Stanford Prison Experiment and the Milgram ones. That needs to be longer next
Yeah.
year. I had so much fun. Those episodes, I laughed till I cried, which sounds horrible because these were like things that happened to people. This was not okay. But like just the insanity of it was so wild to like go in and research. And it's like these are things we're not doing in our day-to-day job at all. Like no one's like, oh, Cotard syndrome. Like, of course, you know? And so I loved those episodes.
Yeah, I think from a host standpoint, like actually doing the show, I think those ones really stand out to me because we both locked in. It was something that was a little bit more different than just our average day-to-day stuff. And yeah, we're both just there doing it. So it really kind of felt like, oh snap, we're sharing something. We're actually giving something to people that's very unique, very different. So from like a host standpoint, I think those are my favorite. I think from maybe like experiencing it standpoint,
Hmm.
like just having a conversation, I think I still really think back to it was one of our lunch hour episodes,
Hmm.
actually, when I was really kind of going through some postpartum.
Hmm. Yeah,
I
the
think,
one that was like after, like kind of your experience from having a child from your perspective.
yeah. If I
Yeah.
if I listen back to that episode, I don't think it was my best like recording and it wasn't my best like with information. I think I even had to do like an edit, like a future edit in that episode or
Mm.
whatever. But just to be the one like having that conversation and having that conversation with you and working through something like very real in real time, I think being able to, however the quality might be, release that like a true, I think our lunch hour episodes, for people who don't know, are really just us kind of just checking in and having less formal conversations and just covering a bunch of topics or just Q&As, getting to know each other better. And so that one was healing. That one was good for me. So I think that was one of my
Mm.
favorite episodes just as an experience.
Oh, I love that.
What about you?
And so mine, I mean, the spooky ones, spooky series were for sure my favorites. Which for people listening, if you haven't heard those, depending on where we uploaded, because this year did get a little funky with us trying to get YouTube going and catching up to Spotify, but they're episodes 27, 28, and 29. And they're a great time. I just think anyone would love them because you just learn about something new and it's absolutely ridiculous. Or even the Milgram and the Stanford Prison Experiment. It's things that like I even in school never learned these things about these experiments. So I think those are incredibly entertaining. The other ones I think I've really been liking are either like the buzzword ones
Mhm.
that we did or like the misconceptions,
Yeah,
whether they
love
were
them.
on parenting, on dating, because I like that we can touch on these giant things that I think are incredibly relatable or things that everyone hears about, and then explain from both of our perspectives why we don't agree with those or like what aspects of those things we agree with and which ones we don't quite agree with. So I
Mhm.
think those are also like very useful episodes or they like spark good conversation, like they allow people listening to just think a little deeper as to like, okay, like do I do that? Or like maybe with your partner you're like, oh interesting, I didn't really think about it from this angle, but maybe if we say this to our kids or if we're approaching it like this, it could all, yeah, it seems like it has this positive effect, but maybe it's also doing this. So I think those ones were great because it can just spark a more in-depth conversation or cause more like layers of thinking about like how you're currently viewing parenting or your relationship. topics like that. So I really liked those ones too.
Yeah, yeah, I like them. That
Yeah.
it took me a lot of consideration not to put those as my favorite, so I'm glad that you took it.
Oh, and then sorry, I'm wrong. I'm gonna add in another one. Honorable mentions all of season 2, which are essentially episodes 5 through 10, which are all about private practice and building a private practice and just like the ins and outs, why you would do in person versus online, different EHR systems to look into, things to consider, private practice versus other forms of therapy. One of my big reasons why I wanted to do the podcast or why I want to share information with people, and as Danny knows, and the world probably at this point, is I just really want there to be more therapists. I really do. I think it's a career that is not for everyone, but a lot of people I think wouldn't even consider it that would love it and that it could be a great fit for them. And so I love those episodes. So if you're like early on in schooling to be a therapist, or if you think you might want to be a therapist, I think those are good to listen to. But that
Mhm.
season was like my baby.
It was. That was your passion project.
I loved that one. Oh my gosh. Okay, now we are going to see which listener favorite episodes. Do you have any guesses?
Based off of what I've heard from the few people that have given me feedback, for context, there are metrics, and for some reason, my login doesn't work, and I'm too lazy to try and figure out. So Ollie
Oh, it
has
actually
been.
doesn't work? I thought I gave you the login.
I'm sure you did, but the last time I checked, it just goes to your family page, and like it did.
It is weirdly kind of attached to my family account, but it says it's on the Spotify creator platform. It is
I don't.
weird.
So Ollie has been handling everything on Spotify, so all credit needs to go to her. I don't know any of this, so this is a blind question for me. Based off of the small feedback I get from the people who do come up and tell me that they've heard our episodes, is they've actually really loved like the misconceptions and like the bad good advice episodes, which were
Ooh.
another segment that I really, really appreciated. So I'm gonna say those relationship ones. What's the answer?
Well, first, I'm going to start by saying that for our, again, not like a full year on, but this is like our recap of the year. We're using Spotify for now because we didn't start like Instagram and YouTube until much later. And our hope is that going into the new year, everything will be caught up. So everything posts on the same day, each day of the week, so that people can kind of use whichever platform they prefer to listen, but they'll all be caught up at that point. But this year we're just using the Spotify data because that's really all we did up until about like a month ago. So for Spotify, first of all, we have 443 listens and 21 Spotify followers. I think this is so fun. I think some people might be like, oh my God, that is so sad. I think it's so fun. For me and Danny just being two people that did this already weekly and had fun with it, I'm glad anyone enjoys listening to this, especially Danny's family. Thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. That is a very surprising number, actually.
Right? I think it's fun. And then let me see here. So when I look at the analytics of our actual episodes, which a different question, and so I'll kind of wrap it in, Danny, is were there episodes that were surprising to us or kind of, oh, how did I word it? Not surprising. Yeah, most surprising episodes or episodes that like performed better than expected or topics that you think just kind of went better in the episode than you anticipated it to go kind of a thing. It kind of goes hand in hand because I will tell you, so let me go to our episode rankings. Our number one streamed episode was the common factors of therapy.
Really?
Yes, by like not a landslide, but like it is a clear winner. And I'm like,
Really?
this is hilarious because I remember Danny wanting to add that episode in to like, I think that one's added into like a season or something. It might have
Mhm.
even been to the private practice one or something, or just what is therapy. And I remember being like, what are you talking about? I'm like, are we going to do a whole episode on this? And then I didn't realize, I like knew what the concept was. I never knew they were referred to as the common factors.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, yeah, sounds good. And it did so well. It did so well. And I was like, this is so funny to me. So that one for me was the surprising one, just because it was also the only episode I remember looking at your outline and being like, common factor. Like, what are we talking about? What is this episode about? And then the second most common, which I kind of love, is why is therapy important?
Okay.
And I love that because that's like one of our main ones, or one of our first episodes and meant to be like a broader view of like, why are we passionate about therapy? So I kind of love that that one is up there. And then you gotta love that Meet Your Co-host Danny Nava is number 3.
I think that is, I guess that just means that's how much of a mystery I am, that people are like, I have to listen to this episode because I don't know who this guy is.
Who is this brown man that appears in the show?
Yeah.
Who is he?
Common factors. That's genuinely surprising. I was
Right?
not thinking about that one. I totally forgot about that episode.
Yeah.
That was an episode that I was really passionate about, something that I've always like been something that I've wrestled with, something I've always argued with. And so, wow, okay, thank you guys.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So that one was fun. And then the other things I find interesting or that make me happy, because obviously, if we're looking at just which episodes have done the best, these episodes have also been on a lot longer than some of the other ones. But like Common Factors still gets views, like to this day. And what I love is that number 4 is the spooky stories, is one of our spooky stories
Oh, yeah.
episodes. So that wasn't even uploaded until October.
Yeah.
So that one's already number 4. And that
Wow.
makes me happy because I genuinely remember being like, anyone would find these entertaining, whether you're into these topics or not. Well, I guess you have to be into the topic, but whether you're like a therapist or not,
Sure.
it feels like just listening to a solid, like true crime, like you won't believe this shit happened. And it's just like anyone would find it fascinating.
Oh, okay, great.
So that's number 4. So I really liked that.
That's a good top 4.
Yeah.
Number 3 is questionable, but okay.
No, I love that number 3's in there. Do you have any other episodes, though, that you found surprising? Either like after we did it, or maybe not so much how it performed, but just like listening back to it, how you felt versus maybe how you thought you'd feel going into it?
And this might be biased because it's most recent, but I love the relationship misconceptions. I love bad, good advice. And I really hope that we can continue that segment in the future. But to come in with relationship conceptions, you kind of leading the episode for those ones, the points were amazing. I just felt alive in that conversation. Like, yes, cool. Just two minds coming together, really just kind of talking about something. I loved that conversation. I don't care how well it did. That's one of my favorite conversations I've had with you.
Yeah, no, those were fun. I think a lot of those too, it's funny, it almost kind of seemed like overkill, or the amount of like new reasons I'd find to be like, all right, there's actually 10 things under this one as to why I don't like it. But it was fun because it almost felt like a homework assignment again,
Hmm.
where you don't like something or something doesn't sound right, but in school they'd be like, okay, well then, like analyze like 10 different ways why this wouldn't be, or we're like, when you have to do it for school, it's lame. But it was kind of fun trying to put that hat on again and like really tweezing something apart enough to like, to the point of overkill perhaps. But I think for the purpose of our conversations, like that's what makes it fun to talk about and like really dive deeply into something that seems so simple or just said all the time.
Yeah.
I think it's really fun to like tweeze those things apart so deeply.
Hmm.
Okay, the next question I have for you, Danny, is if you kind of had to pick like 3 to 5 episodes, a starter pack, if you will, for new listeners to the podcast, which ones would you say would be like a solid listen if you're new here?
I think 1 and 2 have to be our interviews because you have to know who you're going to be listening to.
Mhm.
I would say listen to one of the spooky episodes, listen to one of the misconceptions or bad advice episodes, and then listen to the lunch hour where we talked about private practice.
Ooh, okay. Those are
I
good.
say those ones because I think if you listen to those 5 episodes, I think you get a really good understanding of the many different things that we will do, that we can do on this show. You have episodes that were very intimate and just conversations where you and me get to like share about ourselves and get to know each other a little bit more and talk about what it's like to be in private practice or just the business side. And so I think listening to one of the lunch hours, you get a really nice understanding of who we are and what it actually means to work in this field. I think if you listen to one of the spookies, then I hope that brings a lot of like interesting, like new things to learn and to know that, we can also have fun with this, that we also really do enjoy what we do. And then if we also listen to one of the bad advice or the misconceptions, I think those are really good episodes because we do work with relationships all the time that people can actually take stuff away for their personal life
Hmm.
and really kind of help them. And so a good kind of broad spectrum of things that you can gain from listening to Freudian Slips. I think that's your starter pack for me.
Oh, I love those. Okay, I'd say everyone should listen to episode 1, Let Us Introduce You to Freudian Slips, regardless of what kind of listener you are, to get some background on us and why we started the podcast. I think if you are thinking about being a therapist, or you currently are a therapist, or like an AMFT, or APCC, is that what they're called? Instead
Mhm.
of an LPCC. So if you're kind of an associate and you're not quite sure of where you want to go once you're licensed or things of that nature, or you're in school, then I think you should listen to part of our season 2, just like networking and building a practice, maybe
Cool.
episode 6, because I think that is such a common question, and like that can help with expectations. And then, yeah, maybe one of our lunch hours that's either like a session related Q&A. Which one is that one? Episode 23. Or we've done also like a private practice Q&A. That one was episode 30. So I think any of those, because they're actually, it seems just like Danny said, our lunch hour episodes are less scripted. They're a little more just like questions that we've come up with that we answer back and forth, or just like general stories and things. But I actually think if you are interested in being a therapist, especially the Q&As about private practice or like things that happen in session are
Mhm.
so, like, I would have loved to listen to stuff like that before being a therapist, or just have some insight that's like, yeah, it's not groundbreaking. It's not the stuff everyone's going to be like, oh, geez, like they're 50 minutes in length, da 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 da. But like, there's stuff that you don't think about that's going to happen, or things you might experience that you're like, whoa, I never even considered
For
that.
sure.
So I think those could be great. And then if you're not planning on being a therapist at all, and hopefully you just find this stuff entertaining, one of the spooky episodes, still the Let Us Introduce You, episode 1, know who we are, why we do this. Maybe one of the spooky episodes. And then either the buzzwords or relationship misconceptions, just like any of those on a topic that interest you. I think people could walk away with some good little nuggets
Yeah.
with.
Like
So I think those are also fun. Okay. Danny, my next question for you. What are some of your biggest lessons of the year? So, like, what has hosting the show taught you about therapy or communication or each other, or just, I don't know, what have you like gained this year from us doing this?
as far as like content creation goes, I think that's where like my biggest lessons have been. And that is for those of you who don't know, like I edit the episodes. And so I'm not saying by all means I can start freelancing this shit. This is rough, but learning how to take pauses or how to include like which there's obviously like options we can do to just remove all filler words and remove all pauses. And I think at the beginning you and I were also a little self-conscious about some of just the random words that we use. So at the beginning I think I was really trying to take all those out. But then playing them back, I noticed that while sure that is like a growth area for us, we should probably get a little bit better at speaking. Taking them out really did interrupt a flow that they
Hmm.
fit. It still made sense. And so learning how to put those pauses back in, let them kind of be and get over myself. Also, just mixing audio, where at the beginning, I think if you listen to the earlier episodes, it's definitely Ollie talking, me talking, Ollie talking, me talking. Whereas if you listen to some of the episodes now, you're going to notice a lot more laughing and just voice, just noises in the background from both of us. That's because I'm getting better at blending those audios or seeing how they should fit instead of having this just like cut and dry. Whoever is speaking gets the mic and then mute the other person. I think I missed a lot of just moments where we're just emoting that would have made those episodes feel a lot better to listen to that I'm now doing.
Hmm. Oh, nice. Oh, I didn't realize
Mhm,
the nuances of that.
mhm,
Well,
mhm.
they do sound good and they look great.
Thanks.
So I commend you.
Thank you.
Ooh. Yeah,
What about for you?
what have I learned? I think I've just learned how much I love like breaking up our day to day like with doing this. Or like I love how consistent we've been. I think it's so fun to it is funny, even though this is at this point 0% lucrative. Like it's just so fun to view it as like another part of my job where it's like, oh yay. And it's like, and now it's a podcast day. Me and Danny are recording it too. And my husband's like, okay, sounds good. I like won't be too loud. You know, I just think it's so fun to just view it as another thing that we do and like something on our little agenda. And I love all the growth that comes with like once we got Spotify down and it was like, okay, like we already have all this footage. Like, let's start uploading it to Instagram. Let's start just putting it on YouTube. Cause I personally, I love listening to things on YouTube.
Mm.
And so it was fun to just, I think every next little level and step is like once we have something and it's like, then it's smooth and it's fine tuned. It's like, okay, cool, cool, cool. Like, what's the next little step we can do here? And so I think I just love that learning process. And I've really, really enjoyed that. And I think it'll be very fun to see how that evolves going into next year.
Yes, likewise.
Ooh. Okay. How about what is coming next year, Danny? What are some things we want to let the people know?
Next year, I think this year, not only were we kind of getting our footing, I also think that I'll speak for myself personally. I think in how fun it was. I got swept up in a lot of current events or like where we were at the time. That's what I wanted to talk about. Like, ooh, this is it's summer, so let's talk about this reality dating show. It's Halloween. Let's talk about spooky stuff. I think while we had some like these general ideas, just getting a schedule together or trying to figure out how we want to do this, building our skills just as hosts and researchers. I think it was easier to start filling in these easier or simpler topics that are very entertaining, at least for us, but maybe didn't exactly explore the shrinks and the thinks as much as we said we would. So I think what I really want to see next year is we already have a few topics lined up that I'm really excited for. I want us to hit 2026. I want to hit that ground running. We have some really good things to go over. I want to talk about just kind of like a sneak peek. I want to talk about infidelity. I want to talk about communication. I want to talk about the 5 love languages that's still coming out, that's in the works. I would like to do some like reviews of either products or books to help people line up their bookshelf. I think that would be really helpful, just kind of get resources out there. And so I promise we will actually do our job more on the educating side this year. I think we're kind of getting our bearings, but if you're asking me, what are the big themes that you're looking to cover in the new year? Education and really kind of giving people some good information. That's what I'm looking to double down on next year. How about you?
Ooh, okay. I love that. I think logistically speaking, everything will be on the same schedule. So starting next year, all of our uploads will be Mondays and they will be Mondays across platforms. So whether you listen on
Okay.
Spotify or YouTube, yeah, they'll come out on Mondays now. So I think just consistency and that being across platforms, I'm looking for the type A in me is like, this is lovely. Like, thank goodness. It's just all nice and cohesive. And then, ooh, similar to I definitely want to, I love the education pieces, Danny. So, like, I'm with you. I want next year to be a lot of education. Or just a lot of, I guess it's still considered education, but again, like our spooky series, they were so fun, but just like, let us tell you about this thing you maybe have never heard of before and when it happened and why it was allowed. And if anything like that has been done since and what implications were. I love stuff like that too. So even if it's not like things maybe you'd apply in your day-to-day life right now,
Hmm.
I just thought that kind of educating was so much fun. I love the idea of we've always talked about reviewing products or resources, books, anything like that. I'd love to have an entire like fidget section where we just like go through all these different kind of ways that you can help with fidgets. I personally would love to do an even more in-depth, like an entire series that maybe isn't all at the same time, but that really breaks down from like starting with if you think you want to be a therapist,
Mm.
here's step one. Like, if you're thinking about going to school, here are things to consider. And like step one, and like really going into it. And then it's like once you're in a program, like all these other things to consider, like every step of the way, all the way to running a private practice. So
Mm.
I think I'd love to get like super in depth with like education around becoming a therapist
Yeah, I
as
like
well.
that. I like that.
Mhm.
I like the idea of revisiting some of the topics that we've already done, but now with so much more that we've learned or just kind of keeping it current.
Yeah.
So I think that'd be a really good opportunity. I like that.
Ooh, thank you. Thank you.
Mhm.
And we'd love to hear from listeners what you guys want to hear. The more that we can hear what people want from us, like we're here to provide information and have fun with it. So please, like keep the requests coming. Danny and I love doing it. So we
Yeah.
also want to hear what you guys want as listeners.
Yeah. I think that's a good one. That's another thing. I am excited to give the listeners what they want. I'm
Mhm.
excited to have a community engage with us positively, hopefully, and say, "Hey, this is what we want to listen to. This is what we want to talk about. We'd love to kind of get some information on this." So I'm excited for some requests.
Yay. Danny, this will be so fun. Any I
Yeah.
guess any, like, closing thoughts or final words about the year, about Freudian Slips' first year in existence? 21 followers on Spotify, 445 listens. I think that's a fun time.
It has been great. I feel very blessed, very grateful to be able to do this. Like right now, it really just is a passion project. So I think for us to be this enthusiastic about it, really kind of, I hope what it says is that we've done a good job at taking care of ourselves,
Mhm.
that it's a good sign that we have extra to give the community. And so this is our way of doing it. I never thought I would be doing something like this, and I'm happy to be doing it with you. And so, yeah, it's been a really nice time.
So too. It's just been so fun, and I'm just so excited to plan more episodes and do more research and like share more interesting facts and fun things. I feel like the product reviews and things are going to be great. It's like I just love stuff where it's like cool. Like let us know the or things that people think are like popular or great or get all the hype and it's like let us as professionals tell you how we feel about that.
Yeah.
And so I just love any chance to help. I love hanging out with you every week, Danny. And I'm excited to keep it going into the new year.
Yes.
This will be so fun. Okay. I love it. Well, Freudian Slips 2026 is coming at you full throttle. So get ready.
Yes.
Buckle up, people.
We'll see you next year.
See you next year. Bye, Danny.